Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, now from deep in the darkest forests of northern Minnesota, the show you've waited for. This is Grizzly's Growls, and I am honored to present our host, the man, the mystery, the legend. This is Grizzly.
Good evening. My name is David Grizzly Smith, and if you don't know that, I have no idea why you're here. Anyway, I wanted to show you something. As you know, I've been doing videos on YouTube, including some that aren't particularly videos. I've been an audio podcaster for most of, basically 10 years now. And I found a mechanism on Libsyn that hosts my podcasts that takes the audio podcast, essentially creates kind of a video layer, which is essentially just a still shot of the cover art, and turns it into a sort of half-baked video, which I can put up on YouTube. It automatically posts those for me. So all my audio podcasts are up on YouTube as videos. Why? Well, no particular reason. It's just an easy way to get to a new audience, and I never did have much of anything on YouTube anyway. By the way, forgive this camera. I'm trying to do some fancy schmancy camera stuff. And unfortunately, to do the fancy schmancy camera stuff, I got to use my cheap built-in camera on the laptop for part of this. Anyway, as part of that process, I have been recording. I started recording podcasts. February 4th, 2007 was when my first podcast dropped. I lasted about 10 episodes, completely ran out of things to talk about. So I started recording initially children's stories, just so I'd have more content. Then I decided that people who had been listening to the podcast, which was like 3 people, wouldn't particularly want to listen to the stories. So I separated that out into what's a podcast called Stories from the Hibernation, which is just the stories. Well, that's in the same feed as the Grizzly's Growls podcasts, although you can get them separate, by the way. And while I was doing that, at that point, I started listening to audiobooks on a site called audiobooks.com. That's been around actually since a couple of years prior to my starting podcasting. 2005 is when they started, I believe. Excuse me for a second. Sorry, I got allergies today. Trying not to sneeze into the microphone. Am I on now? I guess I am. Anyway, started listening to audiobooks over there, and I decided, well, hey, I've been recording audiobooks now. What would it take for me to turn these into audio that could be posted on audiobooks? And as it happened, although mostly the site is for new authors using a serialized version of their audiobook to promote their first book or whatever. And it has worked very well for that, by the way. Some of the authors that started there are now New York Times best-selling authors and whatnot. Anyway, although that's what it initially was for, Evo Terra, the guy that runs the place, one of the people, said it was okay for me to put up my little recordings of public domain books on there. And I've been doing that since then. And as it happens, just yesterday, Evo let me know that the latest book I worked on, the one that you've seen here, called The Everlasting Man by G.K. Chesterton, is now live on audiobooks. So let me jump over to the other screen and I'll let you see what that looks like, in case you've never been to audiobooks.com. The other screen is right here. Oh, there I am. Okay, there is the audiobooks.com website. Let me get this cleaned up a little bit here. And basically, it's pretty simple. The audiobooks logo is on there. You can probably figure out where the heck the website is from that, I would imagine. Title, cover. I did the cover art myself, so that's why it looks so crappy. Let's see, a brief précis of what the book's all about, based on, at least from my perspective. I'm not a great writer, so it is what it is. Let's see. It is a serialized audiobook. It is presented in a format that is essentially a short-run podcast. It's 16 episodes and then it stops. Okay, which means you can use this link over here. See this one right here? You can use that to subscribe on iTunes. If you want to listen on your Apple, your iPhone or whatnot, or your iPad or whatever you have, there's also a regular RSS feed link here. So you can subscribe using your other podcatchers. The page, as far as I know, is mobile ready, so it'll kind of zip itself down to a size that'll work on your device. This little box down here, of course, by the way, allows you to give me money. I get 75%, and the site gets 25%, I guess. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, but it would be greatly appreciated. Because if you look over on the right, the pages have ads on them, and as it happens, I want one of those. Zoom H1 digital recorder bundle with the Zoom H2, Zoom H1. I've got a Zoom H2, which is worn out, and all the stuff that comes with it, and I want the stuff. And you didn't get me anything for Christmas. I'm just saying. So, something to keep in mind. Nice thing about this, as I mentioned, all the episodes are on the site now. They are just the book chapters, just the sections, not with all the noise coming in and noise going out, or the podcast that was built into, but actually just the book. So, I mean, you can come to the site if you want to just listen to it there. Click on the little arrow over here on the right. And
Episode 1.
You can hear the podcast. You can hear the book. And it goes through all the chapters, goes through all the way through chapter 1, gets to the end of that, starts up automatically on chapter 2, goes through all 16 pieces. Episode 1 is actually just the intro piece there. And let's see what else we got in here. Yes, of course, the ads. In case you're Christmas shopping for me, like I say. Just saying. Section for putting in comments. You don't put comments directly there with this link. Read more comments, or add your own. Click on that. That'll actually get you over to the Audiobooks blog. And the blog basically has been there since 2005 when the site started. Each book that's put on there gets their own little entry. Basically what it is, a little verbiage on top with from Evo. And then the text of the blurb that I wrote about the book is in there. And then down at the bottom of that, if you listen to the books and you have comments, you can go down here and put in a comment, I should say. Name, email address, website. I'll set up for mine by default. It does that. Let's see, go back to the page I was on. Come on, here we go. Back here. And it being the web, it's going to take a minute because, of course, we're live. So, naturally, it works that way. Now, what just told you about the comments stuff. Now, as I said, this is the book I just finished, Everlasting Man. Actually, but I'm doing this since 2007, so as you might imagine, there's a couple of other books on here that I put on. If you go to this page for the Everlasting Man, there's a link from under my name. Click on that. And let me do this. I've got a thing. I can show you the link, the URL for this page. Let's pop that up there. If you got that. See, there's the website, puttyabooks.com/title/the-everlasting-man. I think it's dashes. It underlines or dashes. Anyway, so let me get this out of the way again. Bam. All right. This page has all of the books that I have put up here over the years. Handy Guide for Beggars, I think, was the second one I did. Biography of a Grizzly was actually the first. Heretics was the first Chesterton book that I recorded. That's I'm actually proudest of that one. It's most fun to do, too. After I did Heretics, the next one I did, of his anyway, was Orthodoxy. That's down here. I don't think it's as good, but it's still a pretty good book. This thing would scroll a little faster. There's Orthodoxy. After that, the next one of his I did was Eugenics and Other Evils. Flatland is not one of his. That's actually Edwin Abbott. Edwin Abbott. Something Abbott. Anyway, but anyway, he's the author of the book, and Flatland, because it qualifies as science fiction, turned out to be one of my most popular books. Because on audiobooks.com, most of it's science fiction, so that's where most people go looking for audiobooks of science fiction. That's really where it all started. Science fiction, some fantasy. There's some other sorts of books in there, but mostly science fiction and fantasy. What else we got that you might find of interest? Like I said, there's one more Chesterton book in here, if you're looking specifically for that. The Defendant. It's a fair book. It's not the greatest thing I've ever done, but it's a pretty fair book. And it was as fun to do just because I like hearing the sound of my own voice. On Liberty, although it's not been huge, On Liberty is a very important book by John Stuart Mill. It is important enough that it is used as the symbol of office for the chairman of the British Labour Party, as I recall. Actually carries that. That shows that he's the guy in charge. And it's a very worthwhile book. It was a kind of a challenge to read, heavy going, but if you're interested in historical books, that's one worth. I do like one thing I like about recording the old books is that they do they have some important things to say that you don't necessarily hear a lot anymore, and sometimes it's I feel very proud of having been able to bring them kind of back to life for people to listen to. Now, all of this, of course, is available here. If you go to, there's another thing I want, this wireless security camera. Why? I don't know. I don't have a practical use for it at all, but it's still on one anyway. You can also find most everything else I've done via my website, grizzlysgrowls.com, which actually goes to my Libsyn site. Basically the grizzlysgrowls.com just gives you a shortcut to get there. And that has all the podcasts on there going back to 2007. And links down the side for all the books. My goodness, there's a lot of books on there. And every single solitary episode of every podcast I've done is in there somewhere. So if you ever want far too much stuff to listen to, it's all in there. I encourage you to check it out. Why? I don't know. Because I did a lot of work and I'm kind of proud of it and I want to show it off. Okay? So that actually is all of that. Hope you enjoyed the visit. I do encourage you to stop by audiobooks.com and go look at the actual current Everlasting Man on there, where the whole book is there now. If you look on the main, down near the bottom of the main audiobooks.com page, they list the latest books, and last I looked, mine is literally the latest book put up there, if you're trying to find it. Otherwise, let me see if there's a way that I can add that URL thingy on here. What was that? Text. Right there. I get it down here where you can maybe read it. Maybe I can read it. Not a very good shirt for that. http://audiobooks.com/title/The Everlasting Man. Which I think, let me look. Make sure, is that? I want to see if there's supposed to be dashes or no, they're dashes. I think it's dashes. So, the-everlasting man. And if you want to go straight there, you don't have to if you don't want to. But anyway, that's that. It was kind of fun. I got to play with some of my toys here. And this is my new fancy new microphone. That's a Blue Yeti. And let me know what you think. And I'm done. Have a good night, and God bless. Where is that closing thing? There we go. Good night. Thank you for listening to Grizzly's Growls, the life and times of a minor local celebrity. If you like the show, tell your friends. If you don't like the show, tell your enemies. If this podcast lasts more than 4 hours, see your doctor. Theme music is Hot Swing from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or at feeds.feedburner.com/grizzliesgrowls. Comment at grizzly.libsyn.com or by voicemail at the comment line 218-234-CALL. That's 218-234-2255. These shows are released under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 license. Your mileage may vary.